And there we go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, I know we haven't done these for a while, but hey, it's podcast season again. But before we get into our guest, let me introduce my esteemed panel. With me, as always, down on the bottom corner, Mr. Principal Tap. He's probably one of the better commentators that I know. Really good wrestling knowledge, quick-witted, knows exactly what to say. The man in the corner beside me, well, I normally dog on this man, but, his name says it all. He's the egotistical one. Thank God he's not wearing the maxi pad on his face anymore, because then you really couldn't hear him. And, I'm not going to make the paint drying comment about him because, that's just too mean. But, we're going to call him the crippled Messiah, Mr. Nathan Noss, a.k.a. he talks like paint drying. Oh, darn, I went there. And, of course, I'm the heartbreaker, the boss man, the one in charge, the one that everybody wants. Welcome to the show. Reason we've been off lately is because we put together a show last month, our second show for our Inclusion Pro Wrestling. It went off great. Messiah actually got to go out and get vocal and get physical in the match, so he got to live another one of his lifelong dreams. And now we can actually say fresh off the press. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, fresh off the press. Galactic Warfare. May the 4th be with you. Oh, May the 4th be with you. That's right, it's May 4th. Star Wars theme match, main event. That's all we're going to say right now. We're going to give you that little bit of a teaser. And fans, when you come to the show, please dress in your favorite costume or your favorite Star Wars attire, because that's right, we're going to have a Star Wars contest. Don't know what we're going to give away yet. Maybe the crippled Messiah is going to kiss a baby, kiss a lady. Who knows? We don't know what the price is going to be yet. I poor pity the baby or the woman that gets kissed by the Messiah, because last I heard he has no teeth and he's freaking ugly.
Okay.
Terrible.
But, enough about us. Let's introduce Telise to our podcast. Mr. Messiah,
Yay.
if you don't put us all to sleep, take it away.
Well, Telise, we'd like to thank you for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
I'll start. So what made you want to become a referee or maybe get into wrestling in general?
Okay, well, I have been a fan of wrestling pretty much my entire life. And I always wondered if being a wrestler was something I would be able to do. So about 2019, I got in touch with somebody who knew of a school that was opening up where I could go and train to wrestle. So I started training to wrestle in February of 2020, right before the pandemic hit. And I trained for about 6 months, ended up getting injured and was out for 6 months, and then came back. And I actually wrestled my first match in June of 2021, and I wrestled for about a year and a half. And then it got to be a little much because I'm in my 40s. So it's just a lot of wear and tear on your body. So I took a step back from wrestling, decided to kind of give that a break for a while, and talk to some people. I wanted to stay doing stuff in the business because I really love the wrestling business. Anytime I'm at a show, you just feel this adrenaline and it's kind of like a high. So I decided to start reffing just so I could stay involved. I would be able to be active in matches that maybe as a woman wrestler I wouldn't typically be able to be a part of. In West Virginia, intergender wrestling is not really a huge thing. So some of the matches that I wanted to be a part of could maybe not have happened other than me being a ref. Because it's not like I would necessarily get to work some of the people that I wanted to share a ring with. So I started training to ref, I think around August of 2023, and I've been doing that ever since, and I love it, and it's a whole lot of fun, and I get to be still kind of similar to the character that I was in wrestling, because I get to be the authority figure because I was a heel when I wrestled. So I still get to kind of have an attitude with people just to keep them in line, but it's not so much of a like cheating nasty person. I'm actually the boss. So it's a little different, but I still get to have kind of the same attitude.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Heartbreaker, since you like to talk about yourself, let's see if you can ask a question this time.
Well, I just want to reiterate something that she said here for a moment. She's a referee and she is a heel.
I was a heel when I was a wrestler.
You know, that does a lot to me because, you know, I like to bring out my heartbreaker side a lot on this podcast, and
Yeah.
that fits me true, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But my question is, you know, typical heel guy,
Yeah.
you're a referee. Can you count to 3?
I can. Do you want to hear it?
1, 2, 5, right?
Right. Yes, counting to 3.
So, Big Money Dodge, we love you. There's your question. You're welcome.
Oh, someone wanted to know if I could count to 3.
Yes, I believe so.
There's a joke behind that. He's a heel manager in California.
Gotcha.
And every time there's a referee that comes on, his first question is, can you count to 3?
Yeah.
So I just thought, you know, since he's not on here with us, I would just ask that question.
Yeah, I'm sure he appreciates that. Yes.
Okay, Principal Tap, if you can keep your tongue in your mouth and not drool, you can ask a question.
Oh, goodness.
We've asked this so many times to different people with only one question, with one person having the most obnoxious answer. What is your favorite cookie or snack?
Favorite cookie
or snack?
Well, my favorite cookie is definitely in the minority. It's oatmeal raisin. And my favorite snack is popcorn. That's easy.
Nice.
Was that one a bad answer?
That's a good answer.
I get made fun of.
That's the better answer than eating Axe body spray.
That's a long story.
No.
Very, very long story.
Yeah.
But anyways, moving on. Crippled Messiah, please don't bore us with a long question. Just ask a question.
So, who were some of the wrestlers that you watched growing up?
My very first favorite wrestler was Ultimate Warrior. And then I really got into The Undertaker just because he was so huge. Like, they just presented him on TV like he was this monstrous giant, and he was super scary. I was legitimately scared of The Undertaker when I was little. Then I moved on to Stone Cold Steve Austin, who he was actually my very first wrestling crush, was Stone Cold. So those would probably have been growing up my 3 favorites.
That's a good list.
Thank you. I think so.
Oh, makes sense. Okay, well, have you only reffed and wrestled in West Virginia, or have you wanted to ref anywhere else? And if so, where?
I got to wrestle. The bulk of it's been in West Virginia. I've also wrestled and reffed in Ohio, and I wrestled in North Carolina. Those are the only places that I've done both. I am currently trying to get my license for Kentucky, Virginia, and South Carolina, so I can kind of travel a whole lot more. But yeah, the bulk of where I wrestle and have refed has been in West Virginia. Now the training school where I go, they used to be in South Point, Ohio, which from where I live is like 10 minutes. I live very close to the border of Ohio and Kentucky. So that's one of the reasons I've been able to ref there, is through that school. But there's also another promotion that was running there. So I got to wrestle. I got to ref at my school for an actual promotion in Ohio. So very exciting.
That is very cool.
Mm-hmm. Haven't been too many places. I did go to California with some people that went to the training school where I first started training when I was still training to wrestle. I still wasn't cleared from injury at that point, or I had just come back, so I didn't actually get to wrestle when I went to California. But the people that I went with got to wrestle, and I got to sit and watch all the matches and all of that. But it was a really great experience, and I met some really, really cool people at that event.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
So, who would you like to get in an argument as a referee with?
Oh gosh.
Oh boy.
Who would
A
I
dream argument.
A dream
of the manager.
Oh gosh. Oh man. Probably Kevin Owens. I love Kevin Owens so much. He's probably one of my all-time favorites currently. So I would say Kevin Owens. LA Knight, I think, would be cool to argue with. Let me think. I think Charlotte would be fun. I'd like to argue with her too. Or like, oh no.
That would be fun.
Yeah, those are the top three I can think of right now.
That works.
That's
Mhm.
funny because as you were saying that, I pictured you getting an argument with those. So in all three, you would either get a stunner, get called and get wooed every other sentence or
okay.
every other word.
Well,
That's okay. I'd be out there living my best life, taking a stunner from Kevin Owens. That would be awesome.
depending on what persona LA Knight's in, you'll either get the dummy or the yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
Okay, Messiah.
So you've been both a wrestler and a referee.
Mm-hmm.
For those out there who don't know, what's the biggest difference or that you found being that you started as a wrestler and then became a referee?
Well, personally, the biggest difference is the stress. I put a lot of stress on myself when I was a wrestler to make everything perfect. You know what I mean? Like, you want the moves to be crisp. You want everything to go according to plan. That like never happens. But I have a lot of issues with anxiety. So putting together matches or calling things on the fly, that was something that was never super comfortable for me. And I know I only wrestled for a year and a half, so I was still super duper green. But that part of it is very, very different from reffing. Reffing, there's a lot of chaos that goes on because there's a lot that goes into wrestling or reffing. But it's a little more calmer in my mind because there's not as much that I have to remember to do. So that's a big difference for me. Obviously, the most prominent one is the wear and tear on your body. I'm not out there taking bumps all the time. I've actually yet to take a ref bump in all of the matches that I've refed so far. So those are big differences. I think you're still part of the match. You're still a character. Like, they want me to be kind of the authority mom figure. So you still get to be a huge part of the match, which I feel like sometimes, I don't think people forget that about refs, but sometimes I feel like refs aren't really given their due, if that makes sense. Or maybe not, maybe kind of the respect that I feel like refs deserve. Sometimes they're not always given that. But those I think would be the biggest differences between reffing and wrestling. I still do most of the same stuff that everybody training to wrestle when I go to training. I'm still out there doing all the roll drills and all the cardio drills and all of those things. So, but I'm not like having practice matches where I'm doing bumps and I'm not learning all the new moves and stuff. That's when I'm kind of working on where I need to position myself in the ring, making sure I'm checking people and holds and, doing the counts and all of that stuff. So I would say those are, to me, probably the biggest differences in reffing versus wrestling.
Very interesting.
Well, he did your dream argument match. I guess what would be your dream match to be the third person in the ring?
Oh. Well, I'm a huge Cody Rhodes fan. So that would maybe be a person that I would want to be in the ring with. I guess if it can be, no. I want to say Kevin Owens again, but I want to pick somebody different because I already picked him for a dream argument. Let's see. Who else? Maybe Jericho, just because he's been around forever. I think there would be some good back and forth with Jericho. He gives refs a lot of grief. He's very, very good at involving the refs, which is important in the match, to involve the refs. So I think that would probably be a really, really cool experience to be in a match with Cody Rhodes and Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I mean, look at Miss Aubrey, man.
Mm-hmm.
She's a Washington State native. She's famous because of Y2J.
Yeah, and she's
if you wouldn't have cut those promos, if you wouldn't have cut those promos on Aubrey, she wouldn't be who she is today. So
yeah,
very, very, very good pick.
And she's awesome, by the way.
She is. All right, Tap. I'd say top that, but I'm afraid to challenge you. So just ask a simple question, please.
In your opinion, with the Hall of Fame coming up, who is the most deserving to be in there?
With the what coming up?
The WWE Hall of Fame coming up.
Oh. Hall of Fame. And I may not get this right. Is Miss Elizabeth in the Hall of Fame?
Surprisingly, no.
Okay.
But she should be.
Yes. That would be my pick. I didn't think she was.
That's right. So, surprisingly, no, she's not.
Yeah. Which I don't really know if there's been an argument as to why she hasn't been put into the Hall of Fame, but I love Miss Elizabeth, so that'd be my pick, I think. Because they're starting to announce the Hall of Fame people, aren't they?
Yes, they are. Okay. Bull Nakano and Paul Heyman, which I don't know.
Paul Heyman, yeah, I saw that one. Fingers crossed for Miss Elizabeth.
And we already know the headliner. I mean, that's going to be no surprise.
Yeah. I think the reason Miss Elizabeth isn't in there yet is because of the way she died. It's not right, but I think with the way WWE is doing stuff now, I don't think they want to highlight as much of, how she died, and people would go and look that up.
Gotcha. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah.
But
all right, Messiah, you haven't put me to sleep yet, but It's still early.
Well, I'm surprised your head even fits in that little square that's up in the corner as much as you're talking about how good you are and trying to put yourself above everybody.
Well, I'm not the egotistical one, so anyways, that's your question.
Could have fooled me. So what was like the match, if you've had it yet, where you kind of had your "oh my god, I'm doing this" moment?
Oh, it's wild because every time when I wrestled, and even now when I'm reffing, there's some point in every match that I've had where I get that feeling. You know what I mean? Like when I'm reffing, and I've talked to other refs in the area about this, and some of them are just as guilty as I am. Like when I'm reffing, sometimes I'm almost watching as a fan. And I'm like, oh, I have a job to do. I need to like get it together. But then there are other times within the match where I'll just like catch someone in the crowd, or I'll catch someone who's videotaping, and it'll hit me that I'm in the ring, I'm doing this in front of a crowd, and it's the most exhilarating experience in my life. Every single match that I've reffed, every single match that I wrestled, that feeling happened at least once every single time that I was in the ring.
Very cool.
Yeah. And if it ever goes away, that's when I know that I'll probably be done. But
because he brought this up, I'm gonna tell you mine if you don't mind.
Sure.
When I realized it in the promotion, it just happened when like the Heartbreaker said I got to be involved more this time.
Yeah.
I was trying to be a heel with the group that I've started to manage. That was the original plan.
Oh, okay.
But because I'm in the wheelchair and stuff, people didn't buy it. So like halfway through, the whole crowd started chanting my name. And it took like 2 minutes of me just like looking around going, holy crap, this whole place is like chanting my name, to be like, okay, I guess I'm not going to be a bad guy now.
That's so awesome. How did that feel? Like when they were all
chanting? Oh, that was an adrenaline rush like I can't even describe. Like,
right? It's wild. It's a wild feeling. It's hard to explain what it feels like, but it's the coolest thing.
Yeah.
And I love that for you. I love that you got to experience that. And I hope you get more and more moments like that, because it makes everything you do worth it. You know what I mean?
I do.
The long hours of study, the long hours of training, and you running a promotion, I'm sure that is such a feat, because talking to promoters, just the work they put in is unreal. So I hope that you have thousands and thousands of more moments like that. That's wonderful.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Well, how are we going to top that? We can't. I mean, that was really good. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't turn you heel though, Messiah. I mean, look at you. You're a cripple in a wheelchair. You're not a bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
You know. I mean, did you really think they were actually gonna?
Well, I like to challenge myself, and I figured if I was gonna challenge myself, that would be like the ultimate challenge.
Yeah.
To see if I could.
Well, you know, let's start with this. I'm going to do a little burning here before we ask another question.
Okay.
You know, why don't you challenge yourself to actually predict a perfect WrestleMania card, or even a perfect AEW pay-per-view card, before you start thinking that you can turn yourself into a heel?
Really smart one. So at least I'm not the one that's basing my predictions this time off the fact that I read a leaked card off of Facebook.
Oh.
That's not confirmed nor denied. That's not confirmed nor denied. But still, even not reading the leaked card last year, who had a better WrestleMania record?
You did, except because I stumbled on a battle royal.
Okay, so therefore, maybe you should make your dream just a little bit smaller.
Yeah, a little bit smaller. Huh? Like the way your glasses look on that big fat head where your brain has to sit.
Just a wee bit smaller, you know? I mean, predict a perfect card first, and then we'll talk about turning you heel.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, it ain't gonna happen now. You get like almost 200 people chanting your name.
Mhm.
The heel thing's out the window.
Yep,
And
kind
this
of-
is coming from someone that looks like a talking egg.
Come on, like
Ooh.
at least I don't have hair that looks like I'm sitting on a mop.
Oh my goodness.
Okay,
You're just
moving
jealous
on.
I have gorgeous.
How about somebody just ask a question, huh?
Masai, you're just jealous.
It's your
I look
question.
really good.
Is it your turn?
Okay, well now. Seems how she grew up a wrestling fan. I think would really get a kick out of this. No, I'm not gonna ask her to do any of the stupid top fives or anything like that.
Oh, good, because I'm terrible with
Let-
those.
Let's just play the referee card here.
Okay.
And she's already brought this person up once.
Uh-huh.
Mr. Cody Rhodes.
Oh, okay.
Is he finishing his story at WrestleMania?
Oh gosh,
Is
I don't know.
Is he winning that World Heavyweight Championship, the only championship their family has never held?
Yeah. It would be that would be such a moment, wouldn't it, if he does win? Ooh. That'd be one for the ages, I think. But I don't know. I really don't know. I hate to try to guess, and I don't really do predictions and stuff. I like to just kind of be in the moment. But man, I want him to win so bad.
That's a referee answer, and the smart answer, Messiah.
Well, let's be fair though. If they don't, everybody's gonna riot in WWE. They almost did it the last time. So if you do it 2 years in a row, you better find a nuclear way to backtrack off of that.
Oh gosh, speaking of which, I don't know if you guys are like on Twitter or whatnot. But there is a huge Cody Rhodes fans. Her name is Tiffany. She made like Nightmare Family bracelets that says
cool.
hashtag Rhodes or Riot, and she was giving them to people. And I got one.
Nice.
And I told her I was going to wear it when I ref. So anytime I'm refing, I'm going to be wearing this bracelet.
Very cool.
I love that bracelet.
It's super cool. I actually just got it in the mail this week, and I've been wearing it ever since. So
That is cool.
yeah.
All right. So yeah. Tap.
What was the most brutal match you ever refereed?
Did I ever refed?
Yeah.
Brutal in what way?
Injury.
Oh, that
you were refereeing and it occurred.
Oh, well, I actually, the school where I train, Power Slam Academy, we have student shows every month. One of the last student shows we had, one of the matches, the story basically was the babyface character who was, kind of shorter, thinner, in stature and weight, was going up against the bigger, bulkier, like not really like a monster. He like calls himself a Hoss character. And he picked him up and threw him. And the baby face kind of bounced off the ring ropes into the corner. And he actually sustained a little bit of an injury from that. But that was probably the most brutal thing. And then just the way he was just picking him up and power bombing him and throwing him all over the place. That match was wild. It was wild. But that guy who he was wrestling is just this larger than life guy who can pick anybody up and kind of decimate them, basically. So he's a really cool guy to, get to ref matches with, because he involves the ref, like he does a lot of back talking and stuff. But the stuff that he does is pretty brutal. So it's always a good match for like ref reactions, just because of how strong and powerful he is.
Very cool. So you have the respect of the guys that you trained with when you wrestled, did you feel like, were you afraid maybe that would change a little bit when you refed? Because maybe it was a little bit different from maybe training with you, and then all of a sudden now you're roughing their matches.
A little bit. The thing that I get the most though is, when are you coming back to wrestling? So I think it's really nice that people are asking me that, because like I said earlier, I have really big bad issues with anxiety, which what comes with that is typically very low self-esteem and all of those things. I thought I was a terrible wrestler. I did not think I was very good at wrestling. So to hear people wanting to know if I'm ever going to come back and wrestle is very nice. Because that makes me feel like maybe I wasn't as bad as I thought I was. But the people who I've gotten to share a ring with wrestling, who now see me as a ref, they're really happy for me, and they're supportive of it, and they just get really excited getting to see me kind of do my thing. So I did think maybe some things would shift when I stopped wrestling and picked up reffing, but I don't think really any of that has. And I haven't even really gotten a lot of, people saying, well, do you want to be a wrestler, or are you just going to be a ref? Those sorts of things. I don't really get a lot of those comments, because I think some people see reffing kind of down here when compared to wrestling. So that's been kind of nice that people aren't like, I don't know, coming across kind of rude about it. But yeah, I think everyone, I don't think anything has kind of shifted, which has been nice.
That is nice.
But that's an interesting question, because it's something that I haven't thought about a whole lot now, but in the beginning, like when I was even thinking about reffing, that was something that I would think about, like how my relationships with people would change, or if people would even still respect me, being that I'm now the ref and the authority figure in the match.
Well, as an owner, we don't look at refs like down here.
Mm-hmm.
Without you,
Mm-hmm.
there would be no magic.
Yep.
It's true.
Without you,
mm-hmm.
there would be no law and order in these matches. And
right.
It would just be ran roughshod.
Because...
So no. Don't ever think referees are below wrestlers. No, because without you, there would be no show.
Right.
And I look at it this way. They always say wrestling's a dance.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you do it right, it's a dance.
Yes.
The referees are the ones that lead that dance.
Mm-hmm.
People can say the wrestlers do it, but the referee's the one that leads that every match that you see.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is an interesting looking at it, for sure.
So, and don't get us wrong. We're promoters and all that good stuff, but without the referees, we can't do what we do.
Yeah.
So you guys are just as equal to us as our talent is. So for that, thank you.
Oh,
absolutely.
Thank you. That's really nice.
So that's all I had. So Principal Tap, go ahead and.
Go ahead, Messiah. I lost my question.
So, of all the 4 major promotions, so that'd be like WWE, AEW, TNA. I almost called it Impact because they just switched.
They did.
Yeah. Or New Japan. If one of them called, or let's say all 4 of them called, and you had all 4 offers, which one would you choose and why?
Oh my gosh. Which one would I choose? Golly. That's so tough. Oh, man. Because I would love to choose all of them for different reasons. I'm really indecisive. But man, it's one of those things, like growing up, you always want to go like to WWE is where that's what I grew up on. So that's my knee jerk response is WWE. But then I also think about, being back here with my family. If I were with WWE, that would be few and far between. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't be able to spend as much time with my family because I'm a mom. Like I have a 10-year-old. And being away from him for months and months at a time, don't know that that's something I would want to sacrifice. In my head right now, that's kind of my thinking, is that I don't know that I could be able to do that. So maybe a promotion that would allow me to have a little more flexibility and freedom in my schedule. So potentially like an AEW. New Japan would be amazing to work for. I've always wanted to go to Japan, and Red Shoes is one of my all-time favorite refs. So just to be in the same promotion, where he's at would be incredible. That would, I'm sure, be absolutely life-changing. And then, TNA, that would be really cool too. I mean, I can't say no to any of them. And that would be the hardest decision ever. But I'll turn that back on you guys. Like if you guys got to be at one of those promotions doing a job, which would you guys pick?
Wow. I think for me, because when I do commentary, I'm a huge Jim Ross fan.
Yeah.
And the most I saw Jim Ross was in like WWE. And WWE hasn't always been a forward-thinking company, so I think being that like first disabled commentator in a promotion that hasn't always done that would be amazing.
Yes, it would. That's long overdue, for sure.
Now you see, I'm surprised you even went WWE. I'm really surprised because you and I talk and dig on WWE as often as we can. Me, on the other hand, again, when I was growing up, same as everybody else probably in this room, WWE was the only promotion out there until TNA came along.
Yeah.
And then they were the only two promotions until WCW came along. And then Vince bought that out. And now, now it's AEW versus WWE. So the long and short about this is WWE is on their way down of all the allegations and everything that Vince McMahon has. They're on their way downhill. So I would hitch my train to Tony Khan and AEW.
I would have to go to Japan.
Solid.
Because it would be an awesome experience to commentate over there.
Yeah.
Can you speak the language?
I wouldn't speak the language. I'd be the one speaking English so I can translate.
You'd be the English commentator.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what I was just going to say. Like in Mexico and Japan, they have one English-speaking commentator. That's how Mike Tenay got his start, like WCW.
There you go.
Very cool.
And the reason I smiled when you said Red Shoes is not a lot of people know that him as a referee, right? Unless it's a few people here or there when he gets on like a national television.
Yeah. Oh, he's fantastic.
I
love him.
Yes.
Although if I can't go to Japan, I would go to Memphis wrestling. So I can hook up with Lawler and learn from him.
Well, I mean, if you're going independence and everything, OVW is where it's at, because you got to learn from Al Snow.
Well, especially now because OVW's got Mickey James and Mick Foley. And
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. That would be amazing. I love Mickey James. And
So, but anyway, yeah, and that's like only the second or third time we've ever had our question turned back on us. So,
hey,
but we love doing that kind of stuff. So thank you.
you're
yes.
welcome.
So bravo. We don't really want to do the top fives just because I don't feel like being that asshole heartbreaker to our guest, unlike the crippled Messiah.
I appreciate that.
So let's see here. Okay, so if you weren't a wrestler and you weren't a referee, what other job would you like to do in wrestling?
Oh, in wrestling. Well, honestly, before I made the decision to start training to ref, I was actually flirting with the idea to be a manager. Because I thought it would be very, very fun. You get to be involved, but not too much. But you're still a presence in the matches. So that would probably be my third pick. If I wasn't wrestling or reffing, it would be some sort of probably heel manager. They seem to have a little more fun, I think. They always get their comeuppance and all that good stuff, but the babyface managers always get to give somebody their comeuppance. So that's also on the flip side very cool. So yeah, some sort of manager, I think, is what I would do.
Very cool.
Going off of that question,
Mm-hmm.
which manager had the best brain?
And here we go with the stupid questions from Principal Tap.
There's the heartbreaker I've been missing.
Like, who was
the most genius behind their wrestlers?
Well, let's see. Oh gosh, this is tough. Well, I don't want to say Miss Elizabeth because she was not much like you say brainy. She was just sweet. I'm not sure.
Actually, I think Miss Elizabeth is a good answer. She was sweet, but she had a lot of cunningness to her.
That's
so I would
true.
Count that as...
I was thinking like Sensational Sherry. Jimmy Hart. Who is a super nice human being. I don't know if you guys have ever met him. He's super duper nice. Who would you say? I'm gonna turn it back on you guys again, or at least you, Tap.
Me? I would say Bobby Heenan.
Oh, I was thinking him too. You said the brain, and I was like, he's trying to bait me into saying Bobby.
Yeah, he kind of baited you on that one. That's why I said a typical Tap. And yeah.
Is that your guy?
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. I always loved how he managed his guys.
There's been nobody really like him since, has there?
No.
He was the entire package. That man was a force. Let me tell you what. I got really into rewatching like older wrestling for a while, and I just started picking up calling everybody humanoids, because that's how you would refer to people.
Yep.
Oh gosh.
But he was the best heel manager when the crowd got behind calling him Riesel.
Yeah. He was something else. My goodness. Oh, to be born in a different time, I think, like in the business back then would have been super interesting, I think.
It would have been.
Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Messiah, please don't bore us with a question. Please make it something easy that she can answer. Shame on you, Tap. I told you we were going to
I'm
ask
just
some
super
hard questions.
indecisive.
Hey, I ask a top 5 question?
No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
It was a good question. I'm just very indecisive.
So you mentioned you had a 10-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
What's he think of his mom being a referee? If
Oh,
you know
gosh.
he even pays attention to that.
He does. He loves like doing like the play wrestling. He's only liked outside of like the independent wrestlers that he gets to see when we go to the shows. He's only liked a few wrestlers that he's watched on TV. His all-time favorite was Bray Wyatt. He was obsessed with the Firefly Funhouse. He created an entire wrestling persona, character, everything based on how much he liked Bray Wyatt. So what he thinks about me wrestling when I got injured, he did not want me to go back to wrestle because he saw how difficult that 6-month period was while I was trying to recover. And he just became very upset when I told him that I was going to go back because I'd only been in training for 6 months at that point. So he would always just worry about what was going to happen when I got injured again. Thankfully, I never sustained any other injuries during my time in wrestling. Reffing, he's much more supportive of because I'm not out there taking the bumps. I'm not out there putting my body on the line. So he enjoys this position that I'm in much better than when I was wrestling. And there was a match probably 2 years ago, I think, that he was watching. And he was really into it until they both got color. Then it was super real to him. He didn't want to go to wrestling shows anymore. He didn't want to talk about wrestling. He's coming back out of that now, but it took a good long time for him to get back into wanting to go to wrestling or the shows and stuff. But he's very supportive of what I do. Like he'll sit backstage and like cheer and watch on the TV, or he'll like peek out from the curtain to watch me reffing. It's really the most wonderful experience, and he's probably my biggest fan, I would say.
If you don't mind me asking, what's the character that he created?
The name was his name is Pippin. And the character that he created was called Nightmare Storm Pippin.
Ooh.
Yeah, and he was gonna have like this face paint that would change color, and he was gonna have all this lightning and smoke, and it was just a very dark character. But he took inspiration from Bray Wyatt when he was the Fiend. So because the Fiend was it for my son. The Fiend and John Cena have been he was just in love with both of those characters. But the Fiend is so much more. Like we would sit and watch all of the Firefly Funhouse episodes, and he would talk to me about this character. And he just, I mean, it was a whole different side to him because he would typically just watch wrestling, but you know, with that character, he was fully invested in wanting to become a wrestler at that point, which I thought was really, really cool. Which is one reason I will forever and ever just have so much love and respect for Bray Wyatt. Not only was he a phenomenal at everything he did in wrestling, but he got my son fully invested to the point where he wanted to become a wrestler, and he created an entire character to hopefully one day get to wrestle Bray Wyatt.
Well, I'm gonna make an executive decision right now. So if he becomes the wrestler,
yeah,
2 things are gonna happen.
Yes.
One, We got to have him on the podcast. And 2, he has to get licensed in Washington so he can come wrestle for Inclusion because that character sounds awesome.
That would be so.
Oh yeah, it definitely sounds amazing.
That would be awesome, and I will keep that in mind. Because he used to want to train to wrestle, and I was like, "You're 10. We're not really going to have that conversation yet." So, but he's gotten in the ring. He's done moves on people, obviously very safely. But he absolutely loves running around with the wrestlers in the ring and like kicking. He does not pull his punches or his kicks. It is full force. But yeah, I will definitely keep that in mind, because the last he talked about, he did still want to train to wrestle. So we'll see.
Well, Messiah, you're not the only one that can make executive decisions.
I know this.
I mean, I know you went the kid side, but being, and I know it's hard for you too because you guys aren't parents.
Mm-hmm.
But coming from my side, and the kid coming and peeking behind the curtain to watch his mom referee. No. We need to get Mama out here in Inclusion.
I was gonna say that towards the end of the
we need
podcast,
to
but
get
you
Mama
beat me
out
to
here
it.
Oh,
in
that was
Inclusion.
awesome.
And we need to let Pippin introduce his mama come into the ring and set ringside for the match.
Absolutely.
Oh, he would love that.
That's what we need to do.
Yeah,
And we can make that happen.
that would be amazing. I would love that.
Because this kid
Mm-hmm.
needs to be involved just because, Bray Wyatt brought him into wrestling. Bray Wyatt single-handedly saved wrestling for me.
Yeah.
When All Ends was lost and Roman Reigns was shoving the acknowledge me bullshit down your throats, Bray Wyatt was the one that saved me and actually brought me back to watching WWE again.
Oh, wow.
I mean, you can ask these. I totally gave up on watching WWE. I will not watch WWE until Roman Reigns loses the title. My exact words.
Is that right? So
My exact words.
You're really hopeful that Cody's going to finish the story. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and I'll go on this podcast right now. Cody Rhodes gets fucked again like he did last year.
Mm.
I will never step foot in another WWE venue or show again.
Oh gosh, I hope that's not the case.
Well, I'll tell you what I first thought of when you were describing that character and the way he created it, like at a young age, and just kind of is running with it.
Yeah.
Was The Miz.
Oh, in what way?
How'd you get The Miz with Bray Wyatt? I mean, come on, dude.
Hold on. Let me explain that, because when The Miz was on the Real World,
yes,
he created The Miz.
Yes.
And nobody thought he would be a wrestler or thought that character was going to be anything.
Let me tell you what. The Miz. Like I said, I've been a fan of wrestling off and on my whole life. Well, when I was in my off period, I watched The Real World Back to New York that The Miz was on. And he would always talk about this character. And when he would get drunk, he would be The Miz.
Yeah.
So years later, fast forward to like 2006, 2007, I start watching wrestling again. We turn it on SmackDown. And who do I see on the TV but The Miz? And I was like, no way. Like, this guy actually did it. And I was the biggest Miz fan from then on.
Yeah. I actually watched that Tough Enough with him on it.
Yeah.
He didn't finish.
No.
He got eliminated from Tough Enough. And then they liked him so much, they gave him a commentating position.
Yeah.
Or an interviewer.
It's so wild. Like, that's just proof positive. Like, don't give up no matter how ridiculous people say you're being, because everyone in that house was just like, who is this idiot? Like, he's so ridiculous, he's never gonna make it, you know what I mean? And then he made it. And he's been
Al Al Snow was tough on him.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
But-
she's right about the real world because he made a cardboard belt that
Yeah,
he
I
would
know.
carry around the house.
I thought he was so bizarre.
So
But
to answer
Messiah-
your question, Heartbreaker, that's how I got to the Miz from Bray Wyatt.
But Messiah,
Okay.
who
Anyway.
who was the original wrestler that made cut
We're-
out belt?
We're not
before
going
he
there.
became-
We're not. Come on. This isn't.
I'll discuss that with you later.
This is not. Come on.
But
Anyways,
my question is,
Uh-huh.
you went back and watched all the WrestleManias, right?
oh god.
I went back and watched all the WrestleManias.
Or what WrestleMania moment do you like the most?
Oh my gosh. WrestleMania moment do I like the most? I mean, we've talked about Miss Elizabeth quite a bit. When she and Macho Man got back together was wonderful. That one will always make me cry. It's just like the little pieces of Daniel, obviously Daniel Bryan. The Hardys returning will always give me goosebumps. I love that when Kofi won, because I was a huge supporter of Kofi Mania. I know I'm gonna miss some. Like my brain goes blank, and I'm like, "What's wrestling?" when I get asked questions like this.
Or as soon as you get off the podcast, it'll all flood back into your
Right,
brain.
and I'll be like, "No, I need to come back. I want to talk about and give better answers." Those are big ones for me that stick out.
Those are some good ones too.
Yes.
I think so.
All right, Messiah. You let us off. You get to end the night.
So,
Okay.
what are your future goals in wrestling?
Future goals. I mean, I think long term it's to get signed somewhere, or at least get enough bookings to where that's my main job. As much as I love working in the field that I work in, and being around the people that I get to be around, if I could ref and that's my main source of income and that's my job, that would be perfect for me. So that's the goal, is to get booked enough to where I could do it full time, to work up to getting signed to a major promotion. That's the goal. Short answer.
And again, before we go, please, we would be honored to have you in inclusion.
That
So
would
if you
be
can get a
so
license in
wonderful.
Washington, then we can make
Yay.
that happen.
Make that trek all the way out there. I don't even know how long it would take me to get there. But I've never been to Washington before, so what better excuse to go than to be reffing at one of your guys' shows? That would be amazing. It would.
It would be a blast to have you and your son.
Oh, that would be wonderful. And I can bring my boyfriend too, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
'Cause
Absolutely.
he also wrestles. My
Oh,
boyfriend.
very
wrestles.
cool.
Well, then there we go.
Yeah.
I've never really offered this to talents before, but I know the licensing fee in Washington is only $75.
Oh, okay.
I know where you're going, so just
I know that this is the part of the heartbreaker that I always fight because I hate it,
you want me to do it so you don't have to break your character.
but let me go there
Okay.
because we have such a common bond and we share in our shoot jobs the same exact almost job. Again, I've never ever said this, so this podcast may be deleted. But I think the Messiah and I would be more than honored to pay the $75 licensing fee for you.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
You guys.
And we would even help you figure out a way to get up here too.
That would be. I don't even know what to say.
So when that happens and we need our referee,
Mm-hmm.
know that Inclusion Pro Wrestling would be more than honored to have you in our promotion.
Oh,
Anytime.
it's an honor to be part of your promotion. That's wonderful.
Anytime that you are willing to make the trip out.
Make the trip to Washington.
And
I would love to make it in time for May the 4th, because I love Star Wars. And I even have a Princess Leia costume, so like I'm set. I'm set.
You know what?
Heartbreaker. You see
Heartbreaker.
that smoke?
What's the nearest airport?
To me, there's two. There's one really, really close to me in like near where I live, and then there's one in Charleston, which is the capital of West Virginia. So we actually have two airports. Just super fancy.
I can see what he's doing. So while he's doing that, let me say this: we're gonna make that happen on the 4th.
Oh my god!
We're going to attempt to make that happen.
Yeah, we're gonna attempt to make that happen.
That would be wild.
But you know what that means, right? That means your son's got a little bit of time to figure out his ring announcing voice, because
he's got a Darth Vader costume too. So like,
so we're good.
He's good to go. We did that
we were serious about having him ring announce one of the matches that you.
He has recently been introduced to the power of the microphone, and I think he likes it. So they gave him a live mic after one of the student shows, and he just kind of went nuts with it. So
sounds like it's gonna be amazing.
Yes. You guys are so sweet. I can't. This has been so much fun being on this podcast.
We'll talk after the show a little bit, or we'll talk at some other point. But let's go ahead and end this first before we actually get into business. So
yeah.
Anyways, we were back. Join us Friday for another interview. I seem to forgot who it was. I think it's with Night Crow. And we'll have more information coming to our May 4th show here in the coming weeks. Again, all I can say is the spoiler for the main event for the show is going to be a Galactic Warfare match. So that's all I'm going to say at this point is the Galactic Warfare match. Main event, May the 4th.
Sounds epic.
So let's end the stream. So good night, everybody, and we'll talk to you in a minute.
Okay.